DOS (DS), short for Disk Operating System, is an acronym for several computer operating systems that were operated by using the command line. MS-DOS dominated the IBM PC-compatible market between 1981 and 1995, or until about 2000, including the partially MS-DOS-based Microsoft Windows. DOS is used to describe the family of several very similar command-line systems, including MS-DOS, PC-DOS, Dr.DOS, FreeDOS, ROM-DOS, OS x16, Horizon OS, and PTS-DOS. In spite of the common usage, none of these systems were simply named DOS. A number of unrelated, non-x86 microcomputer disk operating systems had DOS in their names, and are often referred to simply as DOS when discussing machines that use them, while providing many of the same operating system functions for their respective computer systems. Programs running under any one of these operating systems would not run under others. History. Origins. IBM PC-DOS and its predecessor, 860OS, resembled Digital Researcher CP/M, the dominant disk operating system for 8-bit Intel 8080 and Zilog Z80-based microcomputers. DOS instead ran on Intel 8086 16-bit processors. Starting with MS-DOS 1.28 and PC-DOS 2.0, the operating system incorporated various features inspired from Xenix, Microsoft's variant of Unix. When IBM introduced the IBM PC, built with the Intel 8088 microprocessor, they needed an operating system. Seeking an 8088 compatible build of CP/M, IBM initially approached Microsoft's CEO Bill Gates. IBM was sent to Digital Research, and a meeting was set up. However, the initial negotiations for the use of CP/M broke down. Digital Research wished to sell CP/M on a royalty basis, while IBM sought a single license, and to change the name to PC-DOS. Digital Research founder Gary Kildall refused, and IBM withdrew. IBM again approached Bill Gates. Gates in turn approached Seattle Computer Products. Their programmer Tim Patterson had developed a variant of CP/M80, intended as an internal product for testing SCP's new 16-bit Intel 8086 CPU card for the S100 bus. The system was initially named QDOS, before being made commercially available as 86DOS. Microsoft purchased 86DOS, allegedly for $50,000. This became Microsoft Disk Operating System, MS-DOS, introduced in 1981. Within a year, Microsoft licensed MS-DOS to over 70 other companies, which supplied the operating system for their own hardware, sometimes under their own names. Microsoft later required the use of the MS-DOS name, with the exception of the IBM variant. IBM continued to develop their version, PC-DOS, for the IBM PC. Digital Research became aware that an operating system similar to CP/M was being sold by IBM, and threatened legal action. IBM responded by offering an agreement. They would give PC consumers a choice of PC-DOS or CP/M86, Kildall's 8086 version. Side by side, CP/M cost almost $200 more than PC-DOS, and sales were low. CP/M faded, with MS-DOS and PC-DOS becoming the marketed operating system for PCs and PC compatibles. Microsoft originally only sold MS-DOS to original equipment manufacturers. One major reason for this was that not all early PCs were 100% IBM PC compatible. DOS was structured such that there was a separation between the system-specific device driver code and the DOS kernel. Microsoft provided an OEM adaptation kit which allowed OEMs to customize the device driver code to their particular system. By the early 1990s, most PCs adhered to IBM PC standards, so Microsoft began selling MS-DOS in retail with MS-DOS 5.0. In the mid-1980s, Microsoft developed a multitasking version of DOS. This version of DOS is generally referred to as European MS-DOS 4, because it was developed for ICL and licensed to several European companies. This version of DOS supports preemptive multitasking, shared memory, device helper services and new executable format executables. None of these features were used in later versions of DOS, but they were used to form the basis of the OS 2.1.0 kernel. This version of DOS is distinct from the widely released PC-DOS 4.0, which was developed by IBM and based upon DOS 3.3. Digital Research attempted to regain the market lost from CP/M86, initially with concurrent DOS, Flexos and DOS+, later with multi-user DOS and Dr. DOS. Digital Research was bought by Novell, and Dr. DOS became Novell DOS 7. Later, it was a part of Caldera, Linear, and Device-Logix. Gordon Letwin wrote in 1995 that DOS was when we first wrote it, a one-time throwaway product intended to keep IBM happy so that they'd buy our languages. Microsoft expected that it would be an interim solution before Xenix. The company planned to over time improve MS-DOS so it would be almost indistinguishable from single-user Xenix, or XeDOS, which would also run on the Motorola 68000, Zilog Z8000, and LSI-11. They would be upwardly compatible with Xenix, which Byte in 1983 described as the multi-user MS-DOS of the future. IBM, however, did not want to replace DOS. After AT&T began selling Unix, Microsoft and IBM began developing OS 2 as an alternative. The two companies later had a series of disagreements over two successor operating systems to DOS, OS 2 and Microsoft's Windows. They split development of their DOS systems as a result. The last retail version of MS-DOS was MS-DOS 6.22. After this, MS-DOS became part of the Windows 95/98 ME bundle. The last retail version of PC-DOS was PC-DOS 2000, though IBM did later develop PC-DOS 7.10 for OEMs and internal use. The FreeDOS project began the 26th of June 1994, when Microsoft announced it would no longer sell or support MS-DOS. Jim Hall then posted a manifesto proposing the development of an open-source replacement. Within a few weeks, other programmers including Pat Villani and Tim Norman joined the project. A kernel, the command line interpreter and core utilities were created by pooling code they had written or found available. There were several official pre-release distributions of FreeDOS before the FreeDOS 1.0 distribution was released on 3 September 2006. Made available under the new general public license, FreeDOS does not require license fees or royalties. Early versions of Microsoft Windows ran on top of a separate version of DOS. By the early 1990s, Windows graphical shell saw heavy use on new DOS systems. In 1995, Windows 95 was bundled as a standalone operating system that did not require a separate DOS license. Windows 95 took over as the default OS kernel, though the MS-DOS component remained for compatibility with Windows 95 and 98, but not ME. The MS-DOS component could be run without starting Windows. With DOS no longer required to use Windows, the majority of PC users stopped using it directly. Continued use available DOS systems in 2012 are FreeDOS, Dr. DOS, ROM-DOS, PTS-DOS, RxDOS and Real32. Some computer manufacturers, including Dell and HP, sell computers with FreeDOS as the OEM operating system. Embedded systems DOS's structure of accessing hardware directly makes it ideal for use in embedded devices. The final versions of Dr. DOS are still aimed at this market. ROM-DOS was used as the embedded system on the Canon PowerShot Pro 70 emulation under Linux. It is also possible to run copies of DOS and many of its clones under DOS-EMU, a Linux native virtual machine for running DOS programs at near native speed. There are a number of other emulators for running DOS under various versions of Unix, even on non-x86 platforms, such as DOSBox. DOS emulators are gaining popularity among Windows XP and Windows Vista users, due to these systems being very incompatible with pure DOS. They can be used to run games or other DOS software. One of the best known is DOSBox, designed for legacy gaming on modern operating systems. It is possible to run DOS applications in a copy of the DOS operating system on a PC emulator, allowing better compatibility than DOS emulators where the emulation of the DOS operating environment is imperfect.